Whether you operate one forklift or thousands, one location or hundreds, the new My Toyota customer portal can help you optimize your operation and material handling equipment. This one-stop, free-to-use platform is designed to help you take control of your information and make smarter decisions, all at the touch of a button. Register and access your data today at my.toyotaforklift.com. That's my.toyotaforklift.com. SaaS, RaaS, and now NaaS. Meter is here with networking as a service. That's NaaS. To bring fast, secure, reliable internet, networking, and Wi-Fi to your warehouse. With just one monthly rate and no upfront costs, Meter allows you to focus on getting connected and getting moving. No installation or hardware cost, and just one monthly fee allows IT teams to do more with less. And most importantly, warehouses save time on network troubleshooting, avoid expensive downtime, and get an overall happier IT team. Meter is already powering connectivity for companies with millions of square feet, including Stored, GoBolt, Veho, Trove, and more. Why not add your name to that list? Go to meter.com/thenewwarehouse to get your first month free. That's meter.com/thenewwarehouse for your first month free.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin Lawton with the New Warehouse Podcast, bringing you a new episode today. Today's episode, I'm going to be joined by Andrei Danescu. He is the co-founder and CEO at Dexory, and Dexory is bringing real-time data and visibility to the warehousing space by an interesting solution that we're going to talk about here today. And I'll have Andrei explain it a little further because it is very, very interesting looking, and then the background to it is very interesting as well. So, Andrei, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks a lot for the invite, Kevin. Great to be here. I'm very happy to tell you more about what we're building at Dexory and a lot more about technology and how this will bring benefits to the logistics industry.
Definitely looking forward to hearing more about this and learning more about it as well. But first, you're the co-founder and CEO at Dexory. So I'm curious to hear a little bit about your background and how you kind of came to found Dexory. Where did this kind of come from? Because I think I was looking at your background and it doesn't seem like it's necessarily in the warehousing space. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's not actually in the warehousing space. So Dexory is really, or the company has brought together two of my lifelong and big passions. Mm-hmm. One is autonomous robots on one hand.
Okay.
And the other one is data engineering. So using data to make better decisions. And the background on the data engineering side is more looking at the world of motorsport, looking at the world of Formula One. And that synergistic combination between data engineering, autonomous robots, the ability to collect real-time data has been one of the driving factors behind Dexory.
Yeah, it's very interesting because I did see that about your background, that you're involved in the racing world, and I'm curious. I was curious, like how did you end up going from Formula One, as you mentioned, which is very kind of flashy in a sense and out there, into like what people might consider a little more duller or less flashy, at least in the warehousing space. I mean, it's pretty interesting. So, I mean, I'm curious, like, how did your experiences in Formula One translate over to kind of this Dexory experience in the AMR world?
Yeah, so I'm very happy to tell you more about that.
Sure.
So basically, what I was doing in F1. I was a systems engineer. So my job was looking after the systems that go onto a car, but we did a lot of data engineering. So data engineering or data engineers is a term and a role that's used in motorsport for people that kind of take the data logs from the car in order to make decisions and make the car and the driver faster. So improve the way they drive, improve the performance of every single system on the car, starting from engine, aerodynamics, tires, everything. So I've always had the fascination for how measuring information and collecting that raw data with the engineering knowledge and the right modeling behind it can lead to making split-second decisions that really allow you to get ahead of the competition, really allow you to get ahead of the curve and win the race. Or in the world of business, get one step ahead to win better deals, win better customers, and run your operations with that ultimate level of efficiency. Now, what kind of prompted us to apply our technology and to collect these vast amounts of data for the warehousing space was actually a lot of market pull. So we had a lot of interest from customers that wanted to create digital twins and to create a digital version of their warehouse, allowing them to see in real time what's happening in there, so they can elevate the performance of their warehouses, elevate the performance of their operation. So that was one of the big driving factors, and it's kind of what steered the direction in which we went with the company.
It's very interesting, and I think it's like you said there. I mean, in the Formula One, obviously the goal is to win, and I think in business, in a sense, maybe not the same type of winning, but you want to win as well. And it's interesting you mentioned there in creating more efficiencies within the warehouse operations, then you're able to win faster and be able to achieve your goals in a better way, which makes a lot of sense. So we kind of talked about your background here and kind of how you came to Dexory to found this. So tell us, I guess, exactly what is Dexory and what do you guys do?
So Dexory is a company that specializes in real-time data insights for the logistics industry. So that's our focus. Being more specific than the broader logistics industry, we specifically focus on warehousing. So we see the warehouses as one of the fundamental backbones of the logistics operation, the global logistics operations, if we were to look at that. And it's also an area of the entire supply chain or logistics network is really difficult to gather information, to have a really good feel as to how you can run this more efficiently, how you can get to that 100% customer satisfaction in there. Exactly like you were saying earlier, it's dull, it's dangerous. If you're looking at aisles, you get 40, 50 feet up in the air. In order to collect this information, it becomes a very complex process. So that's the focus for the company, is using autonomous robots to collect real-time data insights and provide this through a digital twin for zero-error operations.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I think the autonomous robot that you guys are utilizing is also very interesting looking as well. So I'm curious about the application there and how that design kind of came about and how they contrast to some other robots that might be on the market that are doing visibility type of things as well.
So I was hoping you'd ask that because it's technology is one of my favorite area to discuss.
Yeah,
you can see I'm a geek at heart, so kind of shows. The way the company operates is we are an OEM, so we are full stack vertically integrated company. So we design and build the robot in-house. And the way we landed at this form factor, we actually analyzed what's the best way to solve the problem. So we did a lot of discovery in the space, a lot of conversations with all the major players in the market. And it was clear that people wanted this real-time information and they wanted a lot of data. So the data throughput needed to be massive. What we noticed as an opportunity there is, you might have the trivial tasks like, immediately obvious inventory taking, cycle counting, all that stuff. That's great. But if you have the right data acquisition platform and vehicle, you can start going deep inside the analytics of how those warehouses are actually being run. Mm-hmm. So if you want to equip state-of-the-art sensors, if you want to equip more capabilities of gathering information, then a ground-based robot offers you a platform that has almost infinite expansion potential. It has vast amounts of power, so it's going to be able to run for extensive amounts of time. It's got a high speed, and therefore you have high data throughput. And very, very importantly, it's inherently safe. So it can function as a collaborative robot. It integrates seamlessly with the workflows and allows us to deploy the tech without any kind of infrastructure changes or any kind of impact on the day-to-day running of an operation.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I guess for people that haven't seen the robot that you guys are utilizing, it's like it's almost like a tower on wheels. I guess I would describe it, and then it's kind of telescoping with all these different cameras and sensors on it that's capturing as it's moving along. So, I mean, how does that create flexibility within the operation to be able to utilize that type of design?
So I think you described it really well. It's a large size ground-based platform, and we have this telescopic tower on top of it, which goes up to about 45 feet up in the air. So it allows you to scan the entire rack in one go. The way it gives you a lot of expansion capabilities that you're not limited to what sensors you can put on that. So, we have LiDARs, we have cameras, we have environmental sensors, we have RFID. You can pretty much put any kind of data capturing system you want on it. And it's gonna give you the opportunity to collect that information. So if you just take temperature, you can put, temperature sensors to collect them at every single rack location. So you'd map out your entire warehouse. You have a very, very detailed temperature map. You can do humidity, you can do obviously pictures in every single location. So there's a ton of potential. And by using the LiDAR technology, you do the 3D reconstruction of the space and you tie all those specific measurements to every single location in the warehouse. So that's giving you that potential to expand pretty much an infinite number of sensors.
It's very interesting, and it is definitely an interesting design, and I love that it's capturing so much data too, as well as it's moving along. But I guess before we dive into kind of the different parts of data that it's capturing and how you're able to leverage that and utilize that in your operation, I mean, talk to us a little bit about from your perspective and, what you're hearing in the market from potential customers or existing customers. I mean, why has real-time data and visibility become so important in today's warehouse operation?
So that's an interesting question. And it's actually an interesting debate. I think historically, data has been important to be able to run a good logistics operation. But let's say before COVID, so we bring it into more recent years, people could solve the problem either by trying to get more stuff to look at inventory or to get more stuff to look at analytics of what's going on. Very, very manual process, very sort of like pen and paper based. Now, when COVID came, it created this massive opportunity for the logistics industry because a lot of businesses quickly overnight pretty much converted to online. So a lot of people needed to leverage far more sophisticated ways of engaging with the logistics specialists. Now, this is a great opportunity. That's perfect. But how do you take something that is very hardware heavy? If you think of the logistics industry, we're talking warehouses, we're talking racking system, we're talking forklifts. It's not exactly a copy paste job to spun out a new warehouse. So if you look at this operation, how do you quickly increase the efficiency in a scalable way? So that's when people started needing more and more data. That was one of the major drivers for us because we had a lot of customers that came to us and said, hey, can you guys take these robots? Can you guys take this digital twin platform and start giving us that real-time visibility into what's going on in the space? Because, operations were getting busier and busier, and therefore they were getting more and more inefficient, up to the point where it didn't matter how many people you're trying to get to run the operation, you couldn't get enough people to solve the problems in the traditional way. So what we're doing is we're bringing this information, pretty much transitioning the industry from pen and paper from 0 up to about 100, full-on digital twin, access any part of your warehouse from anywhere in the world.
That's very interesting. And I think it's, there's so much power in having that data and that visibility to be able to do more with your existing space and figure out how that can be expanded upon, how things can be shifted and changed to make some operational improvements for overall efficiency and throughput, and how can you really leverage that existing space you have already in a better way. And I think it's great that you're creating a way to capture that. But I'm interested to know, because obviously there's some other solutions on the market, right, that are out there, and they're capturing like inventory data autonomously, right, whether it's through a drone or other device. But I'm curious, because I heard you mention in there a couple other data points that you're capturing as well. So talk to us a little bit about, I guess, how Dexory kind of differs from some of those solutions, and the amount of data that's being captured besides just some inventory stock taking data.
We'll be back after a quick break.
You hear a lot about supply chains these days, because if the past couple years have taught us anything, it's that an efficient, well-managed supply chain is absolutely critical to keeping businesses successful and consumers happy. I'm Will Haywood, and I host a podcast called All Business, No Boundaries, where we talk about supply chains, how they work, what happens when they don't, and the innovations that are redefining what's possible in the world of logistics. Join me for insightful interviews with thought leaders and industry experts. We discuss how optimizing supply chains can break down the barriers that are holding businesses back. That's All Business, No Boundaries by DHL Supply Chain. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
So that's an interesting comparison, and I really like it, because I think when we started building this product, we obviously looked at solving the problem. So we started with the problem first, and we said, what's the best way and the most efficient way to solve this problem? And that's exactly how we landed on this form factor. So when you look at what we're doing, you're capable to go a lot further past the ability to do inventory taking or cycle counting. So the two big drivers for us were speed of scanning and data throughput. So the combination of those two means that we scan anything above 6,000-7,000 pallets per hour. If you look at some of the numbers that are put out there by the competition, we're talking 7,000 pallets an hour versus a couple hundred pallets an hour.
Wow.
So that's one of the major driving force in terms of data throughput. And why that's important is you're talking about a warehouse that's 1 million square feet. We're talking hundreds, 100 to 120,000 locations. We can scan that on a daily basis. So we can get that information pretty much every single day without any kind of disruption to the workflow. So you don't need to close aisles. There's no health and safety risks. There's no challenges associated with that. No, it's just the robot will operate, will collect the data you need, and you have this information available immediately in Dexory View. So that data availability is also a very important factor. So if you have your 1 million square feet warehouse, it will take a couple of hours until you scan all of them, but the data doesn't come 6 hours after you start the scanning. No, it comes pretty much on a continuous basis as the robot is traversing through space. So that's what gives it a lot of power in terms of immediate operational impact. So the ROI is very immediate for customers. You get the technology up operating, you start seeing the benefits. The second part of the question that you had was what other types of data we get. So I mentioned the number of sensors. I said environmental sensors, I said LiDARs, I said other types of cameras, RFID. So all these things are, let's say, expansion capabilities that we add to the tower. So when you look at Dexory View as a digital twin platform, you see not just what is in every single area of that rack and that warehouse, but you see all this metadata associated with it. So if you're a big pharma warehouse, you're going to know exactly what the temperatures and humidity conditions are around every single bit of the warehouse, around every single pallet of product that you store in that warehouse.
Yeah, it's very interesting and obviously a remarkable amount of throughput on data and just capturing just the sheer amount of pallets that you mentioned there per hour. I mean, I think that's pretty incredible. So, we're talking about the hardware aspect of it and the actual data capture and that throughput ultimately. But when you capture that data, your data is there, right? But it doesn't mean too much if you don't take some kind of action from it, right? So talk to us a little bit about on the back end, once that data is captured through the robot with these cameras and sensors that are in place, whatever data you're trying to get out there or extract from your operation. Tell us a little bit about how you then work with that data to be able to give some actionable insights to the operators where they can go and improve and become more efficient.
Absolutely. I'll tell you a little bit about how Dexory View, which is the software platform that we offer, handles that data processing and the intelligence behind it. So you'd have the robot going through your warehouse. You have a complete scan of the warehouse. Now, in real time, the data gets processed from the cameras, from the lidars, and so on, sent over in Dexory View, and that starts populating the digital twin aspect of the warehouse. Now, Dexory View is a fully integratable platform, so you can plug in any kind of WMS data into it. You can export data from Dexory View into other systems as well. So you use your digital twin of the warehouse, you use your WMS data, and more importantly, you use the analytics engine that we have built in Dexory View to understand if there's any discrepancies against what the WMS thinks, to derive or correct all these discrepancies, derive reports based on that. So you can tell the warehouse operators where the issues are, if they need to actually make a change, physical change, because maybe they have a VNA, a very narrow aisle system, and there's no visible labels. That's quite a big problem because you don't actually know what pallet you're picking.
Yeah.
Or if you can quickly change everything from the software, from the online system. But when you go into the analytics engine that we've built, it allows you to analyze data trends over time. It allows you to see if you can reassess the warehouse, reorganize the racking system, aggregate pallets together to free up more space, or start optimizing things as moving pallets closer to the pick face, moving pallets closer to sort of like departure areas as they get scheduled into the process and as they get scheduled in to go on trucks. So that's where the big value really comes from. It's not just about being able to read inventory and change it, or like have a real-time view of stock, but it's really all about running this historic analytics on the racking system, on the warehouse itself, to understand how to best prepare for the future. Now, a super interesting side application that we've developed is a daily warehouse archiving system. Now, because you scan this warehouse on a daily basis, you can pretty much go back in time from all the way to day one when you started deploying this technology and see what goods you had in the warehouse, what were the parameters those goods were stored in. So you have a complete visibility into your operation, 360 degrees.
Interesting. And I as a former inventory control manager, I love what you just said, that you have this archive, because, I've spent countless amount of hours like combing through transaction records, trying to figure out where things have been and that have been misplaced and things like that. So, I mean, having that visibility and that like constantly rolling archive of where have things been positioned, because sometimes you see, stuff is moved, like the location is, 03D03, but someone put it in, 03E04 or something like that. And, it can take a long time to figure out where that is, even though it seems like it might be close. There's so much product and stuff around that it's hard to see visually and find those things. So the fact that it's constantly scanning and you're able to pull back and have that visual of where was this product through the entire process or in its entire life cycle within your building, I think gives you a ton of power to be able to understand like where issues occurring, and then taking those actions to be able to correct them, and then also just improving that so it doesn't happen again. Being able to have that data to tell you like, okay, like this is what happened here, and then you can kind of figure out, was it an operator issue, is it a process issue, whatever the case may be. and taking those actions and root causing to really resolve that, so it hopefully never happens again. So I think it's incredibly powerful what you're enabling here with this data capture, and then the ability to then take that and take actions against it, and the ability to call out exceptions through Dexory View, and really be able to manage those exceptions and not necessarily worry about having to do the work of capturing the data in the first place, since the data is being captured autonomously. It makes a lot of sense. And so I guess on the data aspect, we've kind of talked about the capture, the exceptions, and the visibility. How do you take some actions from that? But talk to us too about on the side of the digital twin and how Dexory is helping to create these digital twins within the warehousing space too.
Yeah, I mean, just to add on top of the great summary that you mentioned, it also detects where things are moving through the warehouse. So kind of building on the example you just had, if something's moved through the warehouse, you're going to be able to see that entire journey the goods have actually taken through the space. So it's extremely powerful, because you don't actually need to do anything. You will just highlight, hey, this has been the path of your pallets through the warehouse. And all that information is accessible in the digital twin part of the platform. So we use CloudPoint technology to reconstruct the entire warehouse in 3D. The focus for us, though, is on the racking system. So that's the bit where we pay a lot of attention. And so in the digital twin side of things, you would be able to go into this 3D environment of your warehouse and move around from one location to another. You can click through it and actually see what's physically being present there. So you can see a picture of your goods. You can see a 3D scan of the goods. You can see a 3D scan of the racking system around it. So if you have any kind of damage to the beams or any kind of damage to the racks, it can highlight that. But also it gives you those level of informations around the occupancy in every cube, around how well it's being utilized, how much free space you have. So that's where the digital twin part comes into place. So in one platform, you can have access to all this information. So the entire company has access to the data, and you, Kevin, and myself, and some other colleagues that we have working from Germany can all jump together, single source of truth. We can discuss on specific challenges we might have in various warehouses. Yeah,
I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense for, like that comparison and being able to see. And I think especially with the racking aspect that you mentioned, you're focused on that. You get to see, what's happening there. And I think the digital twin is such a powerful tool for warehouse operations to be able to not only see what's happening currently, but then also, be able to potentially visualize and understand like what can future state look like, and without necessarily having to make too much physical change actually before you find out whether it could work or not. So tell us a little bit about from your perspective. I mean, how does the digital twin and kind of maybe pairing that with AI to take us into, I guess, what you could consider is the warehouse of the future?
So that's a good pairing. That's a powerful pairing, because it's great to be able to acquire all these detailed data sets, and it will be foundational for training the right AI and machine learning algorithms on them to be able to simulate different scenarios. So going back to what you're mentioning, be able to run multiple detailed analysis on how this warehouse structure could look like without any single interruption to the day-to-day flow, but also to start layering in more and more complex features. So if you look at demand and capacity forecasting, being able to train an AI system that allows you to optimize your warehouse in real time, looking at the type and the quantity of orders that are being processed. It allows you to better utilize the resource, because you can make space for the goods and make space for the orders that are coming to your warehouse way ahead of time before that truck kind of arrives at the gate. So it means the entire operation reaches a completely new level of fluidity and efficiency. So you offload that truck, your warehouse is already optimized, and the job list on the forklift tells them directly where to take them, directly at which location. So that's the power that you can get by using the right data sets in combination with the right AI algorithms. So imagine you just log into the system and say, okay, you chat to your AI copilot and you say, I need to bring in a whole line of products. I'm using this line of products in my warehouses in North America, but I need to bring them in the UK. It can pull the data from North America, pull the data from your warehouses in the UK, compare the two and say, okay, this is 1, 2, 3, 5 different layouts or 5 different proposals on how your warehouse can look like in order to best fit this line of product.
Very interesting. And certainly, something I think that if we were to just try and do those things, which we have been and been doing as humans, very complex and very difficult to do and time consuming, right? Whereas if you're leveraging these digital twins paired with the AI copilot, as you mentioned, I mean, it can happen very quickly, right? And you can understand very quickly the feasibility of that or what might need to change or where you might need to change. In your example, maybe you need to readjust another product line that's already existing in that operation, or maybe you need to adjust the physical type of location or racking that you have to be able to accommodate that. Doing those things, I think previously, I guess we'll say in the old warehouse, right? Because we're talking about the new warehouse of the future now, certainly something that is very time consuming, but also I think from a human perspective is error prone as well, right? So, it's great to see that we can leverage these types of technologies and be able to get more precise and accurate results or somewhat of a simulation ahead of time of actually implementing something or putting these things in place to prevent us from making mistakes or errors. I think it makes a lot of sense, and it ties back to being able to win with your business there as well as you mentioned in the beginning. So really interesting stuff that you're doing and very comprehensive in what you're doing just based off of one unit that's kind of moving around and capturing this data and then really leveraging it and being able to use that as such a powerful tool. So I did want to talk a little bit here before we wrap up. You guys have a partnership with Maersk now, right? So tell us a little bit about that partnership and some of the impact that they're experiencing from utilizing your solution.
Yeah, I'd be delighted to tell you about it.
Sure.
They're super excited. And we're working with the folks here in the UK, but also very, very heavily involved with the folks in central headquarters. They're looking at what impact this is the real-time insights and this transformation is going to have in the short term, but also they're looking a few years ahead, mid and long term. We're obviously addressing the end-to-end global visibility through our platform. But more importantly, as they expand their warehousing portfolio into different territories and different continents, it's giving them the opportunity to take those best practices and actually move them from one warehouse to another. And I mean this from a corporate kind of global perspective. If you bring it a little bit back to the UK, so we've already deployed in multiple locations with them. They've already seen obviously the tangible benefits and the ROI to be able to scale this from one location to many. I can tell you a couple of things. So in terms of the initial results, we've had 100% locations in good scan accuracy with daily autonomous operation. In terms of scanning capability, we were above 99.3%. We've had 100% system uptime. So using a ground-based autonomous robot, it's operating during normal working hours. So it's capable of scanning with people around it, picking and going about the normal business. And in terms of throughput, as I was mentioning earlier, we've exceeded 6,500 pallets per hour. And that's more to do with the way the warehouse is set up, because it's not a huge warehouse where we were benchmarking the numbers. But those metrics alone were enough proof point for them to actually pull the trigger and go, okay, we're going to be scaling these deployments. This is absolutely transformational.
Yeah, so it's great to hear that too, that they're seeing the positive impact there. And I can only imagine based on our conversation today and the sheer power of the data that you're capturing, and then that transformation of that data into something actionable, the benefits that they'll see long term too, even that you mentioned, even in the short term that they're seeing. But, over time, I can imagine it only build upon itself. So really interesting to learn about Dexory here, and really, really interesting solution and way to capture data, but then also intuitively and smartly digest that and be able to take action based on that to improve your operation and, come up with that overall win at the checkered flag there. I guess I'll call back to your Formula One days, but So very, very interesting stuff with you, Andrei, and I appreciate you coming on the show to talk about this. If people are interested in learning more about Dexory, what's the best way to do that?
The easiest way is to go on our website, dexory.com, or follow us on LinkedIn. You'll see the latest news. You'll see the latest updates and features that come to our platform.
All right, great. And we'll definitely put all that information at thenewwarehouse.com as well, so people can easily find it. So, Andrei, thank you once again for joining me on the show today.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want more content from the New Warehouse, check out our new video series called All Hands on LinkedIn. Just search for the New Warehouse on LinkedIn and follow along.